Oh, so many explorers!
Click. Go.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Game Dev with AI. Mike here, and we continue our challenge developing our first real-time strategy game without any coding skills whatsoever, just using construct tree and AI tools that I could find, such as ChatGPT. So in this video, I'm very excited to share my progress with you. I made quite a progress during the last days. And in this video, I will cover new features that I was able to add in our game, such as particle systems. I have here already fireworks, fire, sparks, and the smoke, light cone, line of sight. I have explosion going on. I have a flying turret, a lot of cool, exciting new implementations that I was able to add, as well as camera, pen, using the middle button of the mouse, and also camera shake. But before we get started, let's create a fat flying bird. I wanted to show a cool way to quickly animate 2D objects. That's why I'm gonna add a fat bird that is going to fly over our map on top. We're not going to be shooting it. And I was able to quickly animate it just using AI tools. You can apply it to other objects as well if you want to. Later I want to learn the software called Spine, which is really good, but again, everything needs time. I cannot learn everything at the same time. So let's say we have this funny fat bird and it needs to flap the wings when it's flying, right? So first of all, of course, we're choosing the instance where it's already flying. I tried green screen, but it worked much better with a white background. Okay, this fat one I really like. Now I go to Photoshop, and I'm not good at Photoshop, so don't judge me on this. I duplicate the layer, and I need to create 3 frames basically for flapping hands. And then, why can I keep insane hands? Wings. And then we just loop it. We select the wing, I rotate it, and I just do this silly 3-frame animations, like wings like this, wings a little bit higher, and wings vertical. So if I loop it, it will be doing like this, right? And I use also liquify tool, a filter, just to make the bird a little bit like it's breathing, you know, and it's changing. So it's not so mechanic. It's a little bit like it's flying and doing the breathing. Now I have 3 frames with the bird flapping, but you see the problem is with Photoshop I have those artifacts where I'm attaching my wings to the bird, and I need to solve them using AI. Those parts you can see right here. So I saved these 3 frames as a PNG files, and I'm going to load them in Dall-e. Dall-e OpenAI. It's like Midjourney, but it has more tools and easier to use, but it's kind of sucks as well. I hope they will release new version. So now I just need to remove those artifacts. You can see that I was creating with Photoshop. I'm going to erase those parts to make it more seamless, you know, between the bird and its wings. So I erase the problematic points, and I will be asking generation frame to fill those gaps for me to make sure the birds looks much better, right? So I position the generated frame, I fix those little things, and I write seagull, white background, and now Dall-e is going to fill up for me the missing parts. And I think it's pretty cool if you're doing a quick animation yourself. If you want to animate something like this in 15 minutes, this is really a way to go. Look, it's just filled all the gaps. It's not perfect, I know, but guys, this is not a professional animation, but this looks good enough for me to be used as a small asset in the game. I think this is really cool. And now I just save it and make 3 frames, and then again I go to Clip Magic and remove the background of each frame, and create a sprite and put it to the game. Now that I created sprite called seagull and loaded our animation to the game, let me quickly show a very cool new behavior that I learned called sign or scene, whatever. So I did behaviors, it's sign, and we have sign 2 and sign 3. The 3 sign behaviors. It's a math behavior that's moving it back, forward, up and down, higher, and it can also increase the width. Take a look. If I click preview and look at the bird over here, it starts moving back and forth in very smooth behavior. And now I can also add sign for the size. See, it's scaling up, and also to the movements. So now if you imagine it's flapping the hands, we have like a seagull flying around. So this is a really cool effect. So if I add it on the game, and it will start flying around our map. So you can see now this silly fat bird is just flying around. That's really funny. And we can add more. The code is very easy. We just add in seagull every 5 seconds. Let's do more seagulls just for a test. And they fly further. See, now fat birds are coming. That's really funny. And we have second one. All right, but let's don't get distracted too much. All right, so now we're gonna create a very nice explosion, right? To do explosion, we need several particle systems. Let me first show you final result what I have right now. I put it on the spacebar so I can generate explosions where I want to, because we don't have any fighting system for now. Ta-da! There's no sound, sorry. Can't help myself. And look at this shake of the camera. Well, it's not Unreal Tournament, but still. Come on, guys. This is the first game I've ever made. Looks really cool to me. You just cannot help but doing these explosions. So as you can see, explosion is an element which has so many things going on at the same time to make it work. It's not perfect, but we can polish it later. So to make it work, we have a sprite of actual explosion. Where is our explosion? This one, which is just 3 frames, like this. Let's preview this animation. It's just doing like boom, boom. It's also not perfect. It's just zooming. We can improve and polish it later again. Let's not focus on quality right now, but on functionality to get things done. Next, we need sparks, particle sparks, which is just a simple image of sparks. Then we have smoke and fire. And it's very important to understand there are two ways to make particles in construct 3, from what I understand. First one is the basic one for very simple particles like sparks, which don't need animation. In this case, sparks are generated just from 1 frame. And where is our sparks? Particle sparks. On the left you can see the settings that I use. And it's using just 1 frame. And the second type is when we create separate sprite, like in case of fire. So this is fire sprite. And fire sprite has a lot of frames because we want fire to be more alive, more animated, not just as 1 frame, but a full animation. See, it's moving. And now we'll use this sprite as the source of particle fire. So in this case of particle fire, I'm using object here on the left in the settings. You see I'm using a spear fire. And in case of sparks, an object is empty. It's basically using just an image. And one thing that's very important here, if you're using sprite as a source for your particle system, you need to set settings of your sprite, because on preview here, if I preview the fire, it will not be the same as in the game, because in the game it will be using, for example, behaviors and other parameters of the source object, not of the particle system. So just pay attention to this. So if I put fire here somewhere, I like to test here on real background, not on white. For fire, it's very important to use blend mode additive, so it's more alive. If you preview fire, see, it looks very beautiful. Okay, at least to me. And normal, it looks horrendous. So see, small change, and it just makes all the difference. So now we have real fire. Let me not get too much time into settings. I just scroll down. If you want, just pause and see what settings I'm using. All right, that's just so many, and there is no right or wrong. You just play around and see what you like. It's just try and error. The next one, we have sparks. Sparks are one-time burst, they're not continuous. See here, it's type one shot. It's like poof, and that's all. Poof. Again, I'll show you just my settings. If you want, you can make a pause. All right, next one is smoke. Smoke will be appearing later. Again, here are all my settings. This is continuous spray. And you see smoke. And here we don't need to use additive effect. It's just normal. But we need to reduce the opacity. So smoke is not so strong. I think it's still a little bit too strong. Maybe I reduce opacity even more. Let's try 70. Yeah, it's not so heavy smoke right now. Next, to sell explosion, we really need some sort of flash. And to do this, I was checking there are like different plugins for construct tree to simulate lighting, and it's really too complicated for me for now. And I think my idea is just very simple, but it works pretty fine, at least in my opinion. All I did is create a sprite, and let's check out. It's just a transparent image with more light, more gradient of white in the middle. It's an ellipse, right? And now I apply to it several behaviors. Let's check it out. Now as the game gets bigger, it's really getting harder to me to find things, so soon I will have to start organizing things in better manner. I know now everything is really messy, but when you're getting started, it's more important to see different aspects of the engine, to see what I can do instead of trying to make one thing perfect, to organize everything perfectly, to do everything to perfection, which will take too much time, and you might lose interest into this, especially if you're not doing this for money. So for me, it's more important to try here, try there, try different things, and then see if it works together. And then I can dive deeper, I can organize the structure. I know it's a complete mess, but it works and it gets me excited. So that's what matters. Found it. A spare light cone, this one, right? And let's see behaviors. We have flash, sign 2, and fade. Let's see what they do in settings. First of all, we have fade, so that it disappears after 0.7 seconds. See? It's just disappearing. Next, we have sign for movement. This way, see, it's like bouncing a little bit, because we don't want light to be very static, you know, like very boring. We want it to be random and alive. Now sign for height, so it's a little bit flashing like this way, right? Blend mode, very important. Additive, because if you put normal, it's just boredom. It has to be additive to be alive. So that's pretty much it for preparation. And now all we need to do is just the coding part. So what I wanted to do is create basically an explosion group, and when explosion is called on created, it's called SPR explosion on created, I set all of these effects. This way, each time I call explosion somewhere else, all these effects will be done once again. I hope it makes sense what I'm saying. Basically, I have a whole object explosion, and later I can call it in the game on the coordinates that I need, and all this long list of effects will be played in correct sequence to make it work. As you can see, it looks long, but it's really simple. So first we set the damage, so later when we do fighting we'll use the damage. We set explosion to visible. We generate a spirit light cone. Yeah, remember the cone of the light. We generate particles of fire at the same time. Then we set particles fire opacity to random, because we don't want, if we have several explosions, we don't want them all to look exactly the same, right? Now at the same time also, this all happens instantly. We set sparks, which go one shot, right? Then we wait 0.3 seconds and get rid of the original sprite of the explosion, so it doesn't keep exploding more and more. I got rid of it, but I didn't delete it yet because we still need it to generate smoke later. So I'm deleting it later. I just put it invisible for now. Then we wait for seconds. It's when fire goes, and then I want like fire fade away and smoke to start, right? So after 4 seconds, we create particle smoke. Again, we set it to random to make sure all our explosions don't look the same. And after smoke is created, we don't really need SPR explosion anymore, so we got rid of it. We already deleted. Now we have particles fire, reduce opacity, so it kind of fire fades away. Then we wait 2 seconds, we reduce even further. Maybe I could do it something else with like fade behavior. I don't know, guys. Like, explain to me. There are always easier way to do it. Then I destroy spark and fire and reduce smoke opacity. Then I wait even longer for kind of smoke to go away. And then I have a spare light hole start fade and destroy it. I think this part is not correct because I already got rid of it somewhere earlier. But anyway, let's not focus on this too much. We can use fade behavior as well. The next part, on the keyboard space, we create an object as pairs explosion in the position of our mouse, right? And also, to sell it better, we have our camera from the previous lesson, and we have shake enabled. We add behavior shake with random parameters, which will shake the camera. Now, on start of layout, I noticed sometimes all my particles go to the right. I was struggling to solve this issue. That's why I have system on start of layout. I have turned all particles forcefully to 270 degrees. And double check to make sure the blend mode is additive. Okay, and now you can see, can't help myself, looks really good. So here is again the code. You can pause and see everything very quickly. In case you didn't understand, we create an object explosion. We run all the particles in its positions in the correct order. Then we fade them away and we destroy them. Then on keyboard space, we generate explosion on the position of the mouse and we shake the camera. And on the start of layout, I turn all the particles 270 degrees to make sure they face up. And finally, I decided to add tank barrel, flying tank barrel. If you played original Z from 1996, they have tank explosion and then funny barrel is flying up and turning around and then crashing everyone. So I wanted to do the same. It looks really funny and it adds dynamic to the game. So we have sprite broken barrel, broken turret. All right, we have behaviors, rotate, sign, move to, destroy, outside layout, pin, physics. Physics I didn't use, but it's just an experiment. Now on keyboard T press, this is just for testing purposes, we should explode the tank and the barrel will fly up. So we create explosion. So see how I call explosion. So I don't need to each time to write all those effects when I call it. I just create it and it explodes. We shake the camera again and we create our broken turret at the position of explosion. And then we create smoke on the position of the turret and we pin the smoke to the turret. So this way when turret is flying, we have the sign behavior. Oh, I mean we have smoke attached like a trail to it. Then we have the elevation to make sure it's going up. We set it visible, we wait random time, and then basically it drops down and we destroy it. And later I edit also extra code, which I'm not using now, is when the turret is crashing on some objects, it should be destroyed as well. And finally for our turret, we edit sign behaviors. Again, to make sure it's not a 3D game, so that's why we need to walk around it to make sure it looks like, ooh, it's flying up and down. It's not flying anywhere, but it feels like it. And then we have a rotation. And this way, it looks much better. Where is our rotation? Rotation here, see? So basically it flies up. And then it rotates and spins around and looks really like a 3D object. But we need to destroy it before it spins too much. Okay. Now, finally, let's run the game. And if I press T, the turret is flying around. So when we have our tank exploded, the turret will fly off the tank. Basically like this, and then tank is destroyed. And then when turret falls down, it can crash and kill anybody who was under it, which creates extra randomizing to the game. And finally, like I mentioned, we edit camera, scroll and zoom and pan. So we already had scroll. In previous video I explained how we did it. I just added also arrow keys with the condition OR. And here for the middle button, when we hold it, we move our camera guy. And this is a formula that ChatGPT basically gave me. I don't know exactly what it means, but it scrolls to the correct position. So when I press the middle button, it works. It's not very smooth yet, but it's a start. And the final part that I wanted to show you, which I'm really proud of, I wrote this logic myself without ChatGPT. It's small, but it was really hard to do. Basically what I want to do is that when my units, when they walk by the flag, they should capture the flag automatically. Otherwise they will be missing the flags on the way. And the challenge was, if I do this, they usually forget the original goal. So it took me a lot of time to develop this code to make sure our units don't forget original destination. Here's what I mean. If I select the unit and I edit line of sight to make sure we understand what he can see, right? And now if I tell him to go, for example, here, he should capture the flags on the way automatically. Okay, he's doing some silly back and forth. Let's try with this guy. Okay, this one captured. See, he went here, he captured. So you see, it takes time to figure out, but it's doing what it's supposed to do. So if I tell this guy to go here, for example, it should capture automatically 2 flags without me telling him to do it. This is very important in this game. When we have a lot of flags, we cannot just micromanage. You go catch flag, you go capture flag. So we just go here and he should capture it on the way. See, he did it. He stopped by, he captured it, and then he still remembers where he was supposed to go. So this doesn't work again perfectly, but come on guys, this is my first game ever. The next issue that I was trying to solve with ChatGPT's help, but I couldn't solve it yet, is adding minions to our boss robot. Basically we have, in that game, we have tanks and robots, but robots are too weak to be fighting alone, and each robot has usually 2 or 3 minions around him to help him. And what we do, we control the boss robot, and the minions just follow around, we don't control them. So on creating a boss robot, I set the roles boss and minions, and it's creating minions around with this code. But my struggle is passing the correct boss identification to its minions. So if I run this code, all my created instances of the minions are going to the one boss instead of following their own bosses. So you can see they all keep going to this one guy instead of following all of them. That's a mess for now. A lot of things to fix. So that's all for today guys. I hope you enjoyed our video and our little progress over here. Let me know in the comments below what should we try to improve next, and what you think of my explosion effects and flying turrets. Thank you for watching. As always, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.